One of the number one questions that I always get is how much does it cost to build an EVO? And in this video, I'm going to cover how much I've spent building the graphic gray EVO 8. Let's go ahead and get right into the video, but first, if you're new to the channel, definitely consider subscribing. If you guys would like to see more EVO content, car meets education, entertainment, anything like that is going to be on this channel. But let's go ahead and get into the first thing, which is the engine bay in the graphic gray EVO. So this is where most of the money goes. Fortunately or unfortunately, it depends the way you see it. But in this engine bay, there's a lot of things, and in this car in specific, I haven't even touched the engine or built the engine. So just imagine how much money my EVO friends and EVO people that have built engines spend, because that's where things get a little bit more expensive. So I have a list that I made, and let me go ahead and pull it up. Let's go ahead and start with all of the bolt-ons this car has, which first, intercooler piping. I have the short route intercooler piping from ETS. I have top and bottom lower intercooler pipe, which is gonna cost you $600 at least right now. Then I also have a 3.5 inch intercooler, which right now is crazy. It's a total of $859 just for intercooler and intercooler piping. This is honestly one of those mods that I really saw and liked, because you can see it in throttle response, and it's just way better cooling and airflow that's going into the engine. So overall, definitely recommend that upgrade. Then we have our turbo from Arginari. This turbo could run you from 1,000 to 2,000 depending on if you go ball bearing, journal bearing. There's a lot of options when it comes to turbos, but in my case, let's just put it at 1,000. Then we have injectors, which I'm running FIC high C injectors, 1,000 cc, and these are about $421. Then we have the STM stock placement manifold, which coated cost me about $1,800, which is crazy. This is not something that you definitely need. I honestly like it, and I saw a lot of improvement. And before I continue, just know that I was building this engine and this engine bay, I guess you could call it. I was trying to put the best parts out there in the market. So there's a lot of things that you could go cheaper. But then again, if you're building a car and you want a specific part, and you know that there's a part out there that's the best part, and you know it's gonna cost you a little bit more, but it is the best and the best brand, and they basically what they do is the best out there, why not save a little bit more money and buy the part that you actually want? Like, when the one thing I could recommend you, if you guys still don't have an EVO and you guys are looking to buy an EVO, or you guys are looking to build a car, always save up your money and just wait a little bit longer so you can afford the actual part that you want, and stop looking for substitutions that are a little bit cheaper, that in the long run you might switch to the more expensive one, and then you just end up losing money. That's exactly what I did with the GG EVO. And I want to emphasize that this took me, I would say, 3 to 4 years. So as you guys have seen on this channel, a lot of these parts I bought little by little. None of this was bought all at once. So I do want to emphasize that, for you guys to not get discouraged and be like, oh, I can't do this. Like, if I did this, if I honestly did this, I promise you guys, any of you guys could do this. So let's go ahead and continue. We have our fuel pressure regulator with our fuel rail kit. I bought, again, these are little things that you might not need. You just might get away with a fuel pressure regulator, but I ended up doing everything completely. So I did fuel rail, fuel lines, all the way to my fuel pressure regulator, and then I went down all the way. So this is an STM fuel rail kit that cost me $495. Then we have a really expensive item in this car, which is my twin disc XCity clutch. That's gonna cost you about $2,000, but I have no complaints about XCity, and that clutch is amazing. It has held for 3 years, and honestly, I drive the heck out of this car and I have no issues whatsoever. This car drives amazing, and the clutch pedal honestly feels really good. So then we go into the exhaust, which is my downpipe and Tomei. For the downpipe, it cost me $429, and then the exhaust, the famous Tomei, which you just can't go wrong with. Best exhaust in the market, hands down, the Tomei. It's gonna cost you $1,000, and $1,000 for a titanium exhaust, you just honestly cannot go wrong with that. Then we have my boost and AFR gauge, which I'm including in the engine bay. Boost and AFR gauge is a must. I have the X Series AEM, which you guys have seen in my interior. Those are gonna cost you about $400. Then we have my STM oil catch can, which I love because it's super clean. I have the AN lines hidden behind the intake manifolds. Then I have this one that goes here and meets up with the one behind the intake manifold. I made a full video, so if you guys are interested in that, I'll put it here on the right side. Then it goes all the way down, and it's a hidden oil catch can that gets transmission mounted. It's down there. If you guys haven't seen the video, I'll try to put some clips here, but it's honestly 10 out of 10. That oil catch can cost me $450. Then you have things like fuel pump, which was $200. Map sensors and little sensors here and there. This is a 4-bar map sensor. That one costs me $150. Then we have my tile blow up valve, which cost me $260. Speed density intake, which is this intake right here, another $200. Then we have head studs, because I did do head studs in the head, $140. And then radiator and cooling, $300 more or less. That includes hoses and the radiator itself. And a lot of this stuff is not including like the actual coolant, the actual oil, the maintenance stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and add $2,000 on top of all of this in miscellaneous stuff. That being a water pump, a timing belt kit, oil, coolant, transmission fluid, which for us 6-speed guys, it costs like $100 from the dealer. T-case fluid, differential fluid in the rear. So there's a lot of miscellaneous items that I haven't even mentioned yet. Like for example, the battery kit, the small battery. So there's a lot of little things that go into the engine bay that I'm not mentioning. So that's why I'm adding $2,000 of miscellaneous stuff. And that puts us at a total of $12,654 on an engine that I haven't even built. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into suspension and brakes, because believe it or not, this is another expensive one. I went with Fortune Auto coilovers, which are amazing, fully upgraded Fortune Auto 500, which cost me at about, I don't remember the exact price, but I remember these being like $1,500 if I'm not mistaken. I fully upgraded them with Swift springs, basically all the upgrades I could. And for rotors and pads, I went Stop Tech, which for rotors and pads, it cost me $600. So we have coilovers for $1,500, then rotors and pads for $600. And then tires, these are Nitto NT05, which cost me a stack $1,000. And then the wheels, T37s, which I know they're super expensive and you don't have to go with these wheels at all, but these were my dream wheels since I was a little kid. T's could cost you from $3,500 all the way up to $4,500 right now. I paid about that. I think I paid $3,500 without shipping or something like that. So they do get really, really expensive. But that's about it. Let's go ahead and take the EVO out for a drive and talk about the exterior and the interior of the EVO. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let's go ahead and get started with the interior, which I haven't spent much on the interior, but I have restored the heck out of this interior. I don't know if you guys remember, but I'll see if I can get the pictures of the before and after on this interior, and I completely restored this interior. One of the first things I did on this car was do a radio and steering wheel, because the steering wheel it had was destroyed. The Momo steering wheel with the quick release cost me about $260, almost $300, but let's put it at $260. And the Pioneer double din radio that I love, honestly I recommend this radio so much. 10 out of 10, best radio, at least for me. Apple CarPlay, everything. It just does everything that I need. And it's gonna cost you about $400 to change to the double din radio. That was one of the first videos I did, how to install a double din radio on your EVO. And honestly, I love this radio. So 400, 260 more or less for the steering wheel. And then I also bought new carpets OEM from the dealer. They cost about $80 to $100 from the dealership. I bought the MR brand new OEM carpets from the dealer. So that's about it for the interior. Now let's go ahead and get into the exterior of the car. So how much money have I spent on the exterior of this car? And I already mentioned my wheels and tires and steering and suspension. But for the exterior of this car, I haven't spent that much. I honestly like the OEM simple clean look, but I have spent a little bit. JDM bumper was $500. I did upgrade from the USDM bumper to the JDM bumper. It just looks 10 out of 10 times better. I also got rear side skirt extensions for the rear bumper, the side skirts, and I also got a carbon fiber front lip, which I currently don't have because it broke after a week of buying it and owning it. That totaled up to like $1,000 and something. I would say $1,200 with the shipping because it does come from outside the United States. And I also got JDM tail lights and JDM headlights, which cost so much freaking money, almost $2,000 right there in just headlights and tail lights, which break my freaking heart. That's about it for exterior. I honestly like keeping this car simple, clean. I've always been like that. I kind of like keeping the original body lines. But let's go ahead and get back into the garage to total up how much I spent in total, plus more or less the price of an EVO, which is crazy to think about. So let's go ahead and set the camera here. I went ahead and moved the GG EVO out of the way. So in total, let me pull up my phone. So in total, with all the parts I've installed on the GG EVO, which is still, again, a stock build. Shout out to all the EVO guys that have fully built EVOs. Insane how much it costs to build an EVO nowadays. But the grand total for my GG EVO so far is $23,824. So basically $25,000 in just what I would call bolt-ons, not even a full engine build yet. Plus, when you add a total price of an EVO from maybe $25,000, they're costing right now $25,000 to $35,000 depending on how the car is and all of that. If you add $25,000 plus $24,000, let's just round it up, $25,000 in bolt-ons and $25,000 to get an EVO, we're talking about $50,000, which is just crazy to think about. $50,000 on an EVO with full bolt-ons, and I am pushing 417 horsepower. So 400 horsepower car. And again, I do want to emphasize this. This is the route I went. There's so many parts that I have on that car that are extremely overkill for 400 horsepower. So if your goal is just to build a 400 horsepower car, there's a lot of things in my specific build that I went completely overboard because the plan was to build a fully built EVO, 800, 900, maybe 1,000, who knows. But that was the plan with that EVO, the gray EVO. So that's why I literally invested in as many good parts as possible, because as soon as I ripped the engine out, I had all the bolt-ons already. All I probably had to switch was my injectors and little things like that, like the turbo obviously and all of that. But $50,000. Again, I don't know how my friends and all the people that I know that have EVOs, that have fully built EVOs, do it, but $50,000, let's say I add $20,000 to an engine build, because it is really expensive when you start adding labor, and that labor, that's crazy. I've done everything myself to my car. Like, if you imagine the people that pay for the labor of getting their car built, like, you know, you install coilovers, you have to pay to get the coilovers installed, get the coilovers adjusted. I've done everything myself on that EVO, and I'm at, let's estimate $50,000 with the EVO and bolt-ons. imagine having to pay to get everything done. It could get really, really expensive. Like after 50K, you're already almost at like GTR, R35 GTR money if you think about it, like stock GTR. We're not gonna compare how much it costs to build a R35 GTR right now because it is insane. A turbo kit for a GTR is like $25,000, $20,000. It's like insane how much. An intercooler for a GTR I think is like $8,000. Like I started looking at GTR parts because I want a R35 GTR in the future, and I just couldn't believe how expensive it jumps from EVO. Like it's just crazy. I don't know how to explain this, but it's like it's an intercooler. It's made out of the exact same thing my intercooler in my EVO 8 is, and my EVO 8 intercooler costs $600 to $800. Why does an intercooler for a R35 cost $5,000, $6,000? Like it's just crazy. If somebody could explain that in the comments, please do. But anyways, I'm going on a rant. The whole point of this video was just to show some of you guys how much it costs to build an EVO, so you guys are aware. And this by any means whatsoever should discourage you from owning an EVO, because the most beautiful part of owning an EVO and building an EVO is the process. Like the process of buying a stock car and modding it to your liking. That's the beauty of cars, and that's like the best part of it. It's like that meaning or that saying, build not bought. Like literally you buy a car, but then you customize it to your liking. And that's what's beautiful about the car world and car enthusiasts and the passion that I share here in this channel. That's the best part. So would I do it again times 10? Yes, I will do it each time. Here I am doing it again with the red EVO 8. It's something that just money can't buy. Like that's the happiness, the journey of building the car. To me, that's the main part, the process. Like this is my favorite part, believe it or not. The car's up on jack stands. I'm working on the car day in and day out, trying to achieve this vision and this goal that I have in my head. I don't have any other words but just saying that is the best part. The process, the journey is my favorite part. Once the EVOs are done and built, and I can guarantee, I can ask so many of my car friends, and you guys maybe are some of my car friends here watching this video, you guys know that once you guys finish a build, you start looking for the next one. And it doesn't matter what car you buy. You could buy your dream car, and as soon as you finish the build and you just don't find anything else to do, you start looking for other things to do. Like you start adding titanium bolts everywhere. Tony with the black EVO literally doesn't know what else to do, so he starts buying titanium bolts because it's a process we enjoy, and I don't know how else to put that. But anyways, let me stop talking. I wanted to wish you guys a happy new year. I hope this year is a year where a lot of things change for us. These past couple of years haven't been good, but that's still not an excuse to keep grinding and working for yourself and for your own things. Don't wait and say, oh, there's a pandemic going on right now. I'm just gonna wait for it to be over, because to be honest, it might never be over. It might be up to you for you to make the change that you need to make now with the pandemic happening, with all of this COVID stuff happening. Go after your dreams now and stop waiting. The best day to start, whatever your goal is, was yesterday. And I mean it when I say that. So I hope everybody has a great year. I hope everybody grinds out their goals. And I wish everybody, nothing but the best. I hope everybody had a great time with family and friends. And remember, we only have one life. So what are you gonna make out of it? Like always, keep grinding, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.